Are we going to be live on IG too?
Yep.
Cool. You can
Wonder
put
which
us
time
on
zones.
mine if you want,
Okay.
just to fuck with it, switch it up a little bit,
Switch that up then.
switch it up.
Ah, fuck. I don't know your thing.
My thingy.
Yeah, let me see.
It's Mark Smelly Bell, and then it's
Ah!
that'd be good.
Open up your Instagram and say that it was you. So check your phone and see that it was you. Like open Instagram.
Oh, I don't have Instagram, so
Oh, fucking
I wouldn't know. Yep.
Wait, you don't have Instagram on your phone?
Nope. Get rid of it.
Oh, is that recent?
I got rid of it a couple times.
Okay.
I get rid of it here and there, just to kind of create a little barrier. It ain't easy though, because it's like I don't know. It's part of, it's somewhat part of the business, but at the same time, the way that this company is now, if I was to just like leave and not come back for a year, it'd be totally fine.
That's pretty great.
So
That's what a lot of people aim for. Yeah.
I mean, it might be. I might help it along with some stuff that we do, but I don't know. How we doing over there?
We're live on YouTube and Facebook, and I'll work on Instagram right now.
Oh,
Password's got me.
oh.
Yeah, I have to call the guy.
Let me give you another password.
Well, no, the password's fine, but now it needs to verify that it's you or me or us. It needs to, yeah.
Oh wow.
Well, no, because it's like a login from a different device.
Mm-hmm.
So it sent the text to whoever holds the account for the code, and yeah.
Don't you have a guy at Instagram behind like the computer or something that can help you?
Yeah,
guys out?
Jeff.
Yeah,
He's tied up.
I think he has the day off today.
He's pretty busy.
Yeah,
Lazy bastard.
I know. That's why we got stuck with him, because nobody else wanted him.
He's on a
Shame.
dopamine fast.
Yeah.
we can't,
Where did he get that terrible idea from?
we can't seem to locate him.
How was that, by the way?
It was different, it was kind of hard to, like, I was trying to like kind of like tie up loose ends, I guess you'd say, like with like texting, but I was doing so as if like I was gonna leave the country for 5 years, and yeah, it felt like some desperate times there for a minute. I have taken Instagram off my phone many times before, and I've done things like I'll just put my phone in a drawer when I get home from work a lot of times and spend time with the family. Oftentimes when we go out to dinner, I leave my phone at home, and like if I need an Instagram meal picture, then I just have my wife take the picture. And I got a team of people here that help with the Instagram posts, and I still write a lot of them. I'll just send some text with a photo or something like that, or something that hits me or motivates me, and so it's still from me, but I don't get as tied up in it anymore. And then I don't know, I like through doing like yoga and meditating and sitting still and learning the value of being still and just trying to concentrate on concentration and concentrate on nothing is refreshing. And so then I thought, well, I wonder what it would look like if I, just didn't have a phone, didn't watch TV, I've been enjoying fasting. And so I was kind of thinking, like, what if I kind of fasted away from everything? So let me give it a shot and let me try it. I've heard of people talk about it before. I've heard of people saying, dopamine fast, I guess. And so I just figured, let me give it a shot. And so I went to Bodega Bay and kind of hung out on the beach for a day by myself. And it was great. The only thing I was allowed to do was write. No reading, no music. No internet, obviously no phone. And so, what I was left with was pretty much just like writing or walking and I tried to go for a walk a few times and it didn't work because it was like cold and rainy out. And so I had to keep like bundling up. I went outside like 2 different times and I just kept piling up jackets. And then finally I did end up going on a walk and ended up walking in like this kind of woods area where there's a lot of trees and stuff, and so I wasn't getting pelted on with rain because it was like halfway raining and super windy. But it was fun. It was a fun experience. It was you kind of learn a lot about yourself, I guess you'd say, and just kind of did a lot of nothing, and it felt good.
Just remember, everybody, no dopamine means you can't beat off. You can't do any of that either. So you can't sit around all day without your phone and just touch yourself. Don't do that.
You got to watch out for that eggplant. Yeah, it was. I would say like I'd recommend it to anybody. I think and I think you can set your own rules for it. I don't think it has to be a dopamine fast necessarily. I don't think you need to not have coffee and to not do anything. But the point is to pull out some of the richness of your life, pull out some of the stimulants of your life, and just kind of see what you're left with, I guess, right? And you kind of see like, what does it look like when you don't have these things? You're trying to kind of fast away from those things because you're, what I'm always in search of is like more control. How do you get like more self-control? How do you get more awareness? And one thing I love talking about, is dietary control because it's so hard for so many people. And so many people are just not happy with the way that they look. They're not happy with their physique, their body. And so the main thing that I've seen that controls that is your control over your day-to-day choices of exercising and of making better decisions food-wise. And fasting is something that's helped me a lot because it's just like, here's the plan. It's not complicated.
Yeah.
Like, what's the plan? Oh, you're just not eating. I mean, I think that anyone can benefit from fasting, and it doesn't really matter what diet you're following. And I think you can even go as far to say, like, I think if you fasted 18 to 20 hours every day within reason, I don't think it would really matter too much on what you ate.
It really wouldn't. I mean, we talked about it before. It's really hard to eat a lot in 5 or 6 hours. You got to try. Like Andrew here was just talking about that. He just started doing fasting too. And you're finding it difficult to eat all that food, right? In those smaller windows?
Yeah. Well, I've said it in the past, like I really, like I use I like fasting because of the benefit of how hungry you do get. And for someone like me, I have a hard time really getting that like raging hunger to want to tear some food up. Like if I heat up food when I'm supposed to eat, like, oh, it's lunchtime and I got to get X amount of calories and meals in, so it's time to eat. So I'll go eat and I'll just like pick at the food slowly. Like it'll take me an hour to finish a simple like little tray of food. But when I fast for 18 to 20 hours, it's like, oh my gosh, it's go time. Let's eat.
Yeah.
So I've been fasting every day this week. The problem with that though is I'll eat once a day and I'll be like, I'm satisfied. I'm not even like, I'm not hungry at all. Now that one meal is pretty big, but I'll tell myself, okay, I'm going to eat this. And then before bed, I'm going to eat one more time. But then I start thinking, okay, if I eat right now at 8 o'clock, then that means tomorrow, if I calculate the time, that means by like lunchtime, it'll only be like 14 hours instead of 16. So it's like, okay, maybe I won't eat. So when I realize like, okay, I'm only eating once, I don't care how long it's going to take to, hit 16 hours tomorrow. I need to eat.
Yeah. And
I still would just have zero appetite.
How about your stomach? How's it feeling?
It feels great, man.
Huh.
Everything feels awesome. Like
yeah, what's crazy is my stomach is like cast iron now. Like I was not really, I was not really that allergic to anything before anyway. I was pretty much okay with a lot of things. But I had a lot of trouble with like lactose, and like if I just ate a lot, like I would just get gassy and end up going to the bathroom a lot. And that is completely gone. Even if I go way off the plan, I can eat pretty much whatever I want and not have any. I mean, I'll feel really full, but I won't have any other repercussions to that. And I don't know if that's. I mean, I think the fasting, I think it's really helped a lot.
Yeah, no, my stomach, like, especially with Valentine's Day yesterday, we ate so much different food mixed together, and usually that wouldn't sit so well. I'd be shitting myself this morning. But I've been good, and it's been good for weeks now. So I didn't really realize that, but I guess that is something else that's happened, which is nice.
Yeah, I think if people even just thought of it that way, like, hey, look, it could be a way to heal your gut, like clear your food out. I mean, there's this is not like, some crazy like science that we're trying to spit to you, but people have been eating this way for a long time. And there's older people that have said they don't eat until they have a bowel movement, which that's an interesting concept. You kind of go every time you eat every time you go. Kind of actually makes sense. So you cleared something out, and now maybe you need some more food in your system. I do think that there's something. I think that there's something wrong with calories, and I don't know how to put my finger on it. I don't know how to express it the right way. I don't think that they don't matter, and I don't think that they don't like count just because you don't want to count them. They certainly do matter, but I think that they may matter more to people that have a more open diet. They may matter more to people that aren't adhering to any sort of fasting. I think that when you fast, I think in some weird way, and I could be totally wrong, but I think that the science is going to start to show us more and more that fasting protects us. So I think that even if you were to be in a caloric deficit while fasting, I think you can still hold on to a good amount of muscle mass due to the chemical reactions that happen in the body. And that's where I think the calorie equation might start to be a little bit messed up. Much the same way I think we're getting all this different feedback about vegetables and fiber and things like that. I think that probably you don't really need a lot of fiber. However, if you're on a diet where you like to consume multiple types of food, then maybe you do need fiber, especially if you're going to go off of your diet, especially if you're going to go off your plan and eat some processed foods and stuff. Maybe now it starts to make sense. Maybe it's like, okay, well, maybe having 30, 40 grams of fiber a day does make sense because we do want to pull out the bad and we do want to pull out, some of the, processed crap that you ate. And if you're not eating those processed foods and you're doing something like Dr. Baker and some of these other people are promoting, maybe it's possible that the research hasn't been done yet to show that maybe you don't need it. Or maybe it's not as effective as we originally thought. So I think, having Mark Sisson on the podcast really got me thinking too, because he was like, we don't really count fiber as calories, which some people do, some people don't, right? And then he thinks that protein shouldn't even count because he's like, it doesn't even register the same way. It doesn't even, it doesn't really yield 4 calories. Now, you can get way into the weeds on this stuff, and you can get way into the science, and we can get Lane Norton on here and talk about it. But it costs you a lot to digest protein. And so that's one of the reasons why it's not a usable 4 calories. It might be like 3.5 or 3.75 or something like that. And so I think, in Andrew's case, like where he might have a few days where he eats a little bit less, I think that he's totally fine because I think that he'll be protected. And I don't think that you're going to all of a sudden like lose a bunch of muscle mass because you had several days in a row of eating, 1,800 calories or 1,500 calories. But yeah, I could be wrong.
That's what I'm worried about most right now is like, okay, for the meet this weekend, I did try to bulk up. I ate as much food as I could and I didn't gain any weight. But obviously it's just like 1 or 2 days. It's not going to, change my whole body composition. But now throughout the week, I'm like, oh my gosh, like, does that mean I'm going to be weaker? Like, is that going to just like all my stuff, all my work is just going to go straight out the window? I know it's not, but that's kind of the motivation to keep eating. And it's like I said, it's hard, but I'm still enjoying fasting. I'm definitely not going to stop. I just have to get better at consuming more calories.
I wonder what the next fast is going to be for us, though. Because like it's like, no, we're doing food. You did dopamine. Like, what's the next thing that's going to be the fast? Because I feel like we're talking about a lot of fasting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
Well, I'd like to see people fast away from social media. You
Mhm.
know, I'd like to see people start to pull away from that a little bit
Yeah.
more. You know, and when I made that post the other day, there was, you know, a couple people were like, "Hey, good for you. It sounds cool," but most of it was pretty negative. People were like, "This is the dumbest thing I've ever heard." But you're going to see, like, I think it's the job of Instagram. I think it's the job of Facebook. I think it's the job of Twitter, YouTube, all forms of social media, Snapchat. I think that these companies need to start to deliver messages that tell people to fast away from social media, just like the same responsibility that's cast upon Budweiser and Coors to have commercials about drunk driving.
Yeah. Did you see the new Coca-Cola commercials?
No.
They just basically said like, hey, we're just like you. We want to have less sugar. We want to have options to have, no sugar and blah, blah, blah. And then they're like also portion size. So they have like a girl drinking a little Sprite, it's like tiny. So they're trying to say like, yeah, sugar's bad, but keep drinking our stuff, but we're right with you. Sugar is not good. And I was just like, this is interesting. Like, I feel like it is kind of a step in the right direction, but at the same time,
just giving you a smaller dose.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, that, but I'm just thinking the commercial in general, it was like, yeah, we understand. We're right with you. We don't want sugar either.
Mm-hmm.
Buy our sugar products though.
Mm-hmm.
It was just, I don't know. It was like a mixed feeling.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Like, I remember when I went on that cruise with my girlfriend early January, I needed a little bit of access to Wi-Fi so I could just keep up with clients or whatever, make sure that if someone had a question, but it wasn't like chilling on Instagram for most of the day or anything. And it was just 5 days, just us around each other. And yeah, we had a lot of other people on the boat, but that was like the best chill 5 days, not just because we were on vacation, but also just because we weren't on our phones at all. It was really nice, really good.
Yeah.
That was a pretty big deal. But like you mentioned, controlling your thoughts when you were doing your dopamine fast, and it's like it would be difficult to see these like platforms encourage people to get away because they honestly have a power in terms of controlling people's thoughts. People are always thinking about what's my IG looking like. They want to scroll through their Twitter, their Facebook. They are controlling people's thoughts. And I mean, even I realize that. That's why I try to make sure that I'm not on IG for too long during the day or any of my social platforms. I try to keep it a minimum of a certain amount of time and maybe only use it for work because it does get very difficult to get yourself away from it, especially if you use it all the time.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm not saying anything that majority of the people don't already know, but the people that work at these social platforms, it's the same people that help design like casinos and stuff. So it's like they're designed to get you to be addicted and stuck to it and kind of forget about time. And, it's I mean, shit, it works though, right? Like we've all been like, oh, I got to go do something. And then 15 minutes of scrolling, like, oh shit, what was I supposed to do?
They want your attention.
I'm thinking about somebody will say, like they'll say, show me some love, right? And then it's like, what do you do on Instagram? You click the heart, right? It's like, that's the like button is the heart. And it's like such a genuine thing. You're like, yeah, I like what that guy. I like that the guy posted a picture of his puppy. I'm gonna like the photo. The guy's happy that he walked his dog or whatever. It's like it doesn't cost you anything. You're like, simple enough, right?
Yeah.
But you are really getting caught up in a lot of different things, and you're starting to like kind of place your votes different places because who you're giving likes to and who you're not giving likes to. Oh, this guy's wearing a Donald Trump hat. I ain't liking that one. Or I'm going to make a rude comment. This guy's doing this or this guy's doing that or this girl's doing this. And then it really, it ends up being a platform where you're kind of making all these kind of statements about the things that you like and the things that you really, when you don't hit the like button, it kind of means that you don't like it.
Yeah.
Because there's some reason you blocked yourself, and even that causes anxiety whether you hit the like button or not. Sometimes it doesn't. If somebody posts a picture and they're someone who's routinely on a diet and they're chowing down on a donut, it's easy to like the photo because it's like, oh, good for you. You said fuck it. Like we're all been there and we all should be there and we should all experience that. That's fun. Boom, you hit the like button.
Mm-hmm.
But when you don't like something, it kind of means that you don't like it. Kind of means that you don't vote for it. Kind of means that you're against it, I guess, in some way. But I think there's even some anxiety to some of that. And I think that we should be careful about, what we're watching, what we're consuming. And that was the whole point of the fast, was to, kind of fast away from some of these things and, again, kind of see what we end up with. But I've talked many times in this podcast that you can be in control of your own feelings. I think that we just think that the day is going to just take us somewhere. You don't want to like go through the day, and you don't want to just get through the day. You want to get from the day. You want to get stuff from each day that you live. And I think that's an important concept, to not just like let life happen to you. Oh man, like I'm sad because of this, or, well, okay, obviously there's tragedy that happens and we don't have control over those things. But, you hung out with somebody that you don't get along with. You went to a party that you knew you really didn't want to go to. You ate food that you really didn't want. You have food in your fridge that you really know you're not supposed to be eating. You are at a job that you really don't enjoy. You're not making the money that you can control all those things. Or at least you can work towards figuring out a way to be in better control of those things. And as I've mentioned here before too, is you can work on your wages while you're working on a fortune. You can work towards something. You can, if you're a younger guy, younger girl listening to this podcast right now, and you make a few $100 a week, and you're like, shit, man, I got to figure something out. Well, the good news is that you could always be better, right? You can always figure out a way to just make a little bit more by figuring out ways of providing more value, or by keeping your eye on the prize. But in the meantime, yeah, you do need to make those wages. You do need to bust your ass. You do need to make that money, because you got bills to pay. You have a life to live. You gotta eat, right? But I think we have a tendency to get caught up in so many things that are pulling us away from a lot of really awesome things that we actually truly want to do. But instead, we end up sitting on the couch eating a donut.
Yeah. What do you think, in terms of when you were fasting, or when you were doing the dopamine fast, is there anywhere that your thoughts went that you didn't expect them to go, since you didn't have so many inputs? You were just walking and chilling around.
You know what? My that was kind of the hardest part, was like to, kind of like hone in on just not thinking about much. Yeah. And then I started thinking about a lot of like business stuff, and I started getting ideas. And I had my notebook with me, and I started jotting things down, which I didn't mind. I was like, that's cool. Like, these thoughts are coming to my head. I might as well just let them come out. And so I just kind of like let them go. I let them be. But really, the main thing that came to me was how much I just fast in general. If you just think about the word fast, and you think about, abstaining away from things. I abstain from so many things every single day. I love to eat. I love food. I don't have like some weird, crazy relationship with food. I can control it, but I do like pizza. I do like sweets. I love all that stuff. And I tend to abstain from those things, and I tend to choose a path because I want to have a higher standard for myself. I like the results. I got in this conversation with my son the other day about his homework. My wife and him were going back and forth, and they were kind of getting pissed at each other. And I sat down with my son and tried to explain some things to him, that a lot of this work that's in front of you isn't about it's not about the science, it's not about the math, it's not about the history. This is about what you can become. This is an opportunity. People, they should be trying to replace the word work with opportunity. This is a good opportunity that lies in front of you. Now, we all kind of know, like, you can't really hang college over everybody's head the way that you used to. That's what parents used to do to kids, and that's what my wife kind of tries to do to my son sometimes. And he's smart enough to know that that doesn't really make any sense, that doesn't really add up. He doesn't have to go to college to be successful. Whether he pursues that or not, who knows? But I think kind of the main point there is that, as he's going through this homework, he just doesn't understand, like, why. What's the reason why? But why? What's my purpose? It seems like pointless, right? And it's hard to try to make someone understand that there is a point to it. But the point being is that I've learned kind of more recently that education is something that needs to come from within. So if it's not coming from within, if he's not compelled to do it, he's not going to ever probably want to do it. He'll probably kind of always feel that way about it. And I think that that's fine. I think it's okay. But as I was talking him through all this and having him understand the value of him doing this and how it provides more value for him as a person and how it's a representation of him as a person, because you don't want people saying, shit, man, here comes Nsima again. Like, this he's going to be late, he's going to be dicking around, and then he's going to be joking around. We're not going to get a good workout. Like, you don't want, that's not, what a terrible representation of yourself, right? You want to be like, oh shit, man, here comes Nsima. We're going to have a great day. He's always smiling. He's always happy. He's always fired up. And if we're training, like, he loves to get after it. And if we're podcasting, he's smart. He's going to have good things to say. That's a better representation of yourself. And, I don't want people thinking, when they see my son, like, oh shit, here comes Jake. He never does his homework, right? I got to have, got to tell him again. He's got to turn his papers in, right? You don't want to end up being that person. You want to have more purpose than that. And so one way to do that is just to simply work hard and don't be a dick.
I think it's really, it's funny because, Jake, he's really into film and stuff, right? I heard you mention that before.
He's getting into lifting and stuff too. Yeah.
Yeah. Like right now, when you mentioned that education thing and it comes from within, I was thinking earlier, and I don't think about this often, but going through like my teenage years, I was very convinced that I was going to be going to medical school and I was going to become a doctor, because my main reason was I want to help people. And like, I knew I wanted to help people somehow, but that was the clearest path, and I was so sure of it. And I would have never assumed that I would be doing anything as far as fitness is concerned for work. Like that was the farthest thing away from my mind. I loved working out, but I never thought I was going to be a trainer until like I found that out later. But then when I found it out, or when I was figuring out what I really enjoyed doing, right, I just started to figure out a way to learn about those things. I educated myself. I found that it wasn't difficult to read about the intricate aspects of like lifting or nutrition or any of these things, right? Because I actually enjoyed it. That's what's so difficult about education and like in school. And it's nothing necessarily against school, but how can you help kids and young adults figure out that you should try and find out what you enjoy, or find out like what you would enjoy learning about, rather than what everybody else thinks you should start learning about,
And I think it all starts with like sitting down with your child and communicating with them. My wife and Jake, they were kind of, shouting back and forth. My wife's doing the dishes and my son's at the dinner table. And it's like, this is not, because we run this business together too, my wife and I, it does me absolutely no good to come in here and like yell at Andrew about something, or for him to come in here and yell at me about something. We can't have an environment that's that way. It's just not productive. It's like, how is that going to advance anything? And it's hard to think that way sometimes with family members, because it does get emotional and you're like, well, shit, why aren't you just doing what you're supposed to be doing? But at the same time, if, I think that your children should be treated like adults. I think they're a lot smarter, a lot more intuitive than we give them credit for. And I think in a lot of cases, they're even way smarter than us. Like, they just know. It's almost like an animal instinct. It's like sometimes people, like their dog knows when certain person's at the door and shit like that. I think kids have they pick up on everything. You cannot... we've had times in our family where something was going on, or somebody was sad or upset, and our kids would just be like, hey, what's wrong? And you're like, fuck, man, I'm trying to disguise it the best I can, but I'm really falling apart over here, And they just know, man. They can sense things really well. So I think the main, like, where it all starts is to, sit down with that kid, or sit down with your own kid, whoever this person might be that doesn't want to do these things, and communicate with them and explain to them why. I think the best thing to do, honestly, is rather than trying to explain why it's important, because you're going to try to explain why it's important to you, is let the idea come from them. So what I told my son is, I said, let's forget everything for a second. Let's say that I'm your teacher. I'm your teacher, and I'm your teacher for all the classes that you're in now, all the subjects, right? I said, I'm going to give you a blank piece of paper and you can write down whatever grades that you want. What grades would you write? And he's like, A+. And I'm like, okay, let's just say that in order to get an A+, you'd have to play video games less. You couldn't film with your friends on the weekend. And you couldn't work out. He's like, well, then I wouldn't want an A+. I was like, okay, well, what if you can do some of those things? What if you can do some of those things, but you got like a B or a B-? He's like, I'd go for that. I was like, well, there we go. And then the conversation quickly changed to him talking about organization and how he's not organized and how if he gets better organized, he thinks he could be more productive. And now he's actually like, this whole thing just took a giant 180. And it's not because I'm a genius and it's not because anything my wife was doing was wrong. My wife is the one that deals with him every day on this stuff. She goes over it with him all the time. Mm-hmm. So she gets frustrated, which is totally normal. But it takes both of us. It takes both of us to steer the ship and to get him headed in the right direction. And I'm sure a lot of people listening to this probably have issues with their own kids trying to get their homework done.
Yeah, it's always tough. And like I've said on the podcast before, like my sister was having a little trouble with my nephew because he had the same thing as Jake, where he's like, why is this so, like, this doesn't matter. Like in the next couple of years, it's just not going to matter.
Dividing fractions? Like, what is this?
Yeah. Like,
this is ridiculous.
And so like I sat there and I'm like, dude, yeah, I hated school too, man. I didn't want to go, but if you don't finish high school, you're not going to finish anything. Like, because it might seem like quite a bit of a chore right now, but once you get out of it, you'll realize, man, that actually wasn't hard at all. Mm-hmm. So, but it was funny because I'm like, yeah, it's kind of bullshit. And he just looked at me because no one had ever said that to him. But that's kind of like, again, like we can't treat our kids as kids all the time. I understand, like, yeah, you can, you shouldn't be yelling at them. You shouldn't have like crazy high expectations on certain things. But when it comes to telling them about like real life stuff, like, dude, forget the age. Like, you just need to tell him, like, he's a human being, right? Like, he's just a little bit smaller right now.
Yeah.
But when I was just real with him, I'm just like, yeah, dude, it does suck. It's kind of a waste right now. I'm like, but you have to get through it. And he kind of looked at me weird and then was like, all right. And so he's doing fine now. But it just took me looking at him and treating him like an adult for like when no one else would. And so that was huge.
Yeah, that respect makes a huge difference.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think also too, what I was explaining to my son is like, I don't always want to go to the gym and like lift, but I love the result. So the result is what I'm obsessed with. The result is what I'm after. And so, even though like, I might be on my way here and I might be like, wow, like I don't know. I don't really even feel like training right now. But once I get here and I get warmed up, then I kind of start to remember why. I start to remember what's the reason behind all this. Why am I doing these things? And same thing with my wife. My wife gets up every morning at like 5 or 6 o'clock and she swims every morning. And she does love to swim, but even just because you love something doesn't mean you don't hate it sometimes. And it doesn't mean it's not an inconvenience. I mean, even your own partner, even your own person that you live with or spend the rest of your life with, even as much as you love them, you're going to hate them sometimes, That's the way things are, right? The yin and yang to everything. But I think it's trying to figure out, what's the result. And so that's a hard thing when it comes to, school. It's like, I can give them this like speech and get them fired up, but it's like, how long will that sustain? Will that stay? Will that actually really, really stick? And I think that it will over time because I'm teaching them stuff that, I wish I heard some of these things when I was, I sent him, a message or sent him a video that I watched with Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs talked about dropping out of school. He dropped out of college, not out of high school. But the cool thing about Steve Jobs and the cool thing about Bill Gates is both of them dropped out of college, but they both stayed in school and still went to classes, which is like really insane. Yeah. And so you talk about, educo, this idea of these things coming from within. They dropped out, but then they dropped in on the classes that they liked. They went to but they didn't want to adhere to the standard form of education of this is the curriculum that you need to know. You need to know all these different courses as well. They're like, screw that. I'm just going to go to the stuff that I want. And that's how they ended up becoming some of the richest people in the history of the planet.
I mean, don't you wonder why it's like, why can't you necessarily do that? If you're a student that, you're paying for college and I want to learn about this and these things and what classes you want to take to do that, can't you just do those classes and do those classes only?
You can't.
I know you can't, but just like, why?
Because the prerequisites and the money involved with credits and
I guess to be
and the time that you have to.
But I think that if you were to give kids a lot of choices, I think if you did that all the time, I think over a period of time they would choose stuff that's good for them. Obviously, if you said, "Hey, you want ice cream," and then 20 minutes later said you want ice cream, they're going to keep wanting ice cream. That's not really what I mean, but I think that if you said, hey, you got the option to play outside right now, or you can read, or you can go over some math, they'd probably be like, I can play outside. Mm-hmm. They come back, you'd probably be tired. You got the option to read, go outside, and they might go outside a bunch, but I bet you eventually they're going to be like, yeah, well, let's do some addition and subtraction. Let's go for it. I bet you that and that's what they do at a lot of these other schools. Some of these like Montessori schools and stuff like that, they let you kind of take your time with your education. They'll, if some kid is like being disruptive in class, then they'll just be like, hey, everybody, let's go outside. Let's get 10 minutes outside and we're going to come back. Or if you wanted to, pick something in particular that's a little different to learn, they might just kind of like go over that. Like they might stop what they're doing and go over something a little different, which is kind of an interesting form of education,
Yeah. On that idea of education, what's crazy? I mean, I got a lot of friends that, like from high school and college, where they're in their job that they have in their major. I've had the discussion with a few people, and it's often that I find that they're like, yeah, I don't really read much anymore, dude, or I'm not really doing anything new. I'm not learning about anything new. Pretty much just going to work. Maybe I'll hit a workout, come home, watch some TV, and go do that same thing. And it's so crazy to me because, like, I can't imagine at this point not trying to learn something new, I feel like if I did end up in the job that I wanted to go into from college and I was, like, comfortable with that job, like, that education for me I wouldn't enjoy continuing to learn about it, right? But I'd already be in that job. And if it's set and I don't really like learning about it, but I'm already making that money, I don't think I'd really put myself out to do many more new things or learn much more new stuff. And that's sad to think about.
No, you absolutely. I mean, I had that job. Well, not the job I went to college for or whatever, but I had the job that I thought was like my career, and you're like, oh, I finally made it. You want to do everything that has nothing to do with your job at that point, because it's just like the same redundancy stuff over and over every single day, monotonous, and you're collecting a paycheck at a certain point.
Yeah.
Maybe I was a terrible employee that thought that, but that's just the way it was. And anytime I clocked out, it was literally anything else. Like it was like, oh, let's read up on the Kings, let's 49ers. And then eventually, luckily, I started falling in love with photography, and that's when, I started learning, but somewhere else, right? Like it was a totally different thing. And that's, like I said, thank goodness that happened. But as far as like my job itself, like I tried in the beginning, it was in the medical outfield, I'll say, because it was medical records. Mm-hmm. But I was like, oh yeah, let me try to take advantage of any kind of education that this company is going to provide. And so like I did like medical terminology courses and all kinds of stuff. And all it got me was like a 15-minute break away from my job, because I would have to go take these classes online, and like I got a certificate at the end of it all, and it was kind of lame. But no, you're right. Like I had zero ambition to try to do anything better other than just what was required for me at that position. And it was terrible.
I find it really fascinating that people do stop their education. I was never a fan of school, but I've always been a fan of education. Like it's important to learn shit. Like, so for me, school was hard, and I just didn't have a great time with it. But it doesn't mean that it sucks for everybody. And it doesn't mean the idea of like learning stuff is bad. Like we have to learn in order to grow. You know, Louis Simmons used to talk about this a lot, and he would say, you know, if you were on a deserted island and all you ever read was one book, that's all you would really know. And he compared that to training. You know, if you just, that would be the stimulus that you had was, you know, you just did sets of 10 your whole life and you used the same weight. Well, then you're just going to get the same old result. You don't have the ability to grow because there's nothing to adapt to. You still lift the same 45-pound bar and you do it 10 times every day for 3 sets. It's going to just yield that result, and it's not going to further stimulate you. Mm-hmm. Same thing with the idea of this one book. It's just the one thing. What I find really interesting is that somebody that's, you know, in a 9-to-5 won't like their job. They'll feel underpaid and overworked. They'll be frustrated, and they'll also think to themselves, they'll look at the guy to the left and look at the guy to the right and be like, man, I'd love to be like that. Man, look at that boat that guy has next door. Man, that boat is sick. And then then they go inside their house and they watch TV. And it's like, why aren't we asking the question, you know? And people hate to talk about money, but it seems like idiotic almost to not sit down and think to yourself for a second. Maybe grab a notebook and just write it down in giant letters. Say, how do I make more money? How do I get that fucking boat that the guy next door has? That thing looks sweet. Mm-hmm. I want to figure it out. Well, the way that you're going to get that is to figure it out. There's nothing more powerful in the world than a made-up mind. You make up your mind to do something, and you're determined to go for it, you're going to end up with something. You're not going to end up with nothing. You're going to end up with something. Like I tried the 500-pound bench this weekend. I ended up with 485. I ended up with something.
Yeah.
I got some points on the scoreboard, right? You're not going to end up with nothing.
Yeah, you got your name on the board.
Got my name on the board. Got to erase Damon Thurman off there. But it really boggles the mind. It's like, what about a self-help book? What about a seminar? What about a podcast? There's so many resources. It's like, man, what did you just do? You're just marveling at the guy's house next door or what the guy had next door. And then you just went inside and didn't think to yourself that maybe you could be better. Like don't wish for things to be better. Like wish for you to have more skill. Mm-hmm. Wish for you to be better.
Yeah,
what you should be praying for.
Yeah, what you said earlier about putting in the work. It gives you more options than if you didn't. I don't know if that would have stuck, but I wish somebody would have told me that when I was like just getting out of high school, because I didn't understand. Okay, come on, throat. I didn't understand.
Sucking that dick.
I know, right? Ugh. I hope my mom's not watching. She's just going to be so upset with me right now.
She's just going to be like, I knew it.
My dad's going to be like, this makes so much sense. Anyway, I didn't understand that. All I knew was like I just got to work hard. So I'm going to drop out of college and I'm just going to go get not one, but 2 jobs. And to my parents, they were like, oh, okay, well, yeah, you're just a hard worker. Like, that's fine. Go ahead and work 2 jobs. Now, they're 2 shitty jobs, but I always had something to do. But I always had to do something, like, meaning, like, I never had money. I never had anything. I never had options to stop working. Yeah. I always had to have a job. But had I not been such a dumbass in school, then maybe I would have had more options. However, what I've been telling myself, there definitely is no mistakes. There's no regrets whatsoever, because everything that I did helped get me here. However, if there was a little bit smoother road to get here, or maybe, I don't know, more fruitful road, there's the dick sucking again. It might have been different, but it's just, like I said, it's there's no mistakes, but there are definitely life lessons that I learned for sure. And I wish I had known that, like, yeah, if you put in the work, you're going to have more options. I think that's huge. I really like that.
Yeah, that was something I said off air. Mm-hmm. We had a little discussion beforehand about some of the things we were going to talk about, and I mentioned how I explained to my son, like if you choose to do some of the things that you don't really want to do now, then you'll have more choices later on. So yeah, like this does suck. But the more that you lean into that and the more that you choose that, the more that you end up with what you want. And the more, in some sense, the more freedom that you can get away from having to be so strict or so rigid or adhere to really anything anyone else says or does. I hung out with my friend yesterday that owns Dutch Brothers, my boy Sean. He and I trained this morning. I had him. We met yesterday for a little bit and got some conversation. He was like, "Man, I need to get back in the gym," and he kind of had a laundry list of excuses out that he was going over with me. And he was like, "I can't, work out in the morning because my wife works out in the morning." I was like, "Oh, what time does she work out?" He's like, "She goes at like 6:30." I said, "I'll see you at the gym at 4." And so he and I trained this morning. He actually threw up because he hasn't trained in a long time.
Oh, wow.
But this is a guy, that puts in the work. This is a guy that years ago, I actually remember him saying this to me. He used to train with me before super training was super training. So he's been around the entire time and he's seen all this stuff going on. But I remember him saying to me, he's like, "I'm working on stuff right now. It's not going to pay off for like 5, 6, 7 years." Most people aren't willing to say that. Most people aren't willing to even think that way. And now he's doing great. Now he's got 6 Dutch brothers. I think he's working on a 7th one. He's got 4 awesome children. He's got everything and anything. I mean, he's got every toy and trinket that you can possibly think of. He's got a Tesla. He's got these big ass trucks and a bunch of other cool things. Just a wonderful person, awesome guy. But what a great mentality that is, right? Like the work I'm putting in right now might not seem like much, and I might not be getting much back yet. But wait a couple years, because that shit's going to be coming.
It's funny you say that. It's like, it's exactly what you were telling your son. It's like discipline doing things that you don't necessarily want to do right now. We're going to pay off like a large dividends later on. And even like with what I was doing in terms of the fitness stuff, like I knew when I started that I was going to head in the right direction. I knew I was going in the right direction when I started, because I was like, I don't see myself personal training for the rest of my life, but this is going to lead to something else somehow. And I knew that at that time. But I just kept doing it. And then it led to opening ideas in terms of doing stuff online, and then led to doing certain things here. And it's like, I don't regret any of it, but it's like, I guess being able to see where you want to be. Like at that point, I was able to see where I wanted to be, what I wanted to have, and all those things. I just didn't know how I was going to get there, but I knew I wanted to do it somehow through fitness, somehow through doing things that I liked doing. And a lot of times it is hard to see that, but I think that that's necessary. I think you can't just necessarily just do it. You have to also like know where it is that you're trying to head, not blindly.
What motivates you?
What motivates me now? I was actually thinking about this a few months ago. It's kind of weird. It's the general idea is control, and not like control of other people, but more discipline and control of myself. That's one of the big reasons why I got into the whole meditation stuff when I started it, so I could control my thoughts better, so I could be able to just have more understanding on like controlling my day-to-day processes, but then doing things like jujitsu, getting better at like my business and stuff like that. It's all being able to have control of like myself, my life, and the things around me, because I think for a long time I didn't feel that I was in control, and I felt that a lot of things when I was younger like affected me, and I didn't feel in control of it. I felt like I wasn't in control of my emotions. It's not like I was a kid that I would get mad all the time, but I also at the same time just kind of felt, I guess, sometimes I just kind of felt helpless. So I didn't like that. So the reason why like I do a lot of things I do is just so I can have more control of those things. And again, it's not other people, it's just of myself. That's kind of what I'm heading towards. Yeah, that idea of like self-mastery, mastery of your mind. And like even with jujitsu, like I was thinking, how many people can say that they've mastered literally anything? You can go through your whole life. You can be really good at something. You can have like a kind of an expertise at something. You could be kind of good at your job, but what is something that you've really actually managed to master? And there are a few things that I want to get as close to mastery as possible.
And when you get there too, then you'll like anyone that's quote unquote mastered anything would never say it probably.
They'll never say
because
they've mastered it.
because they'll get there and maybe they know their accomplishments, right? They know they're a badass at whatever it is they're doing, but they're also like there's still just so much more here. There's still so much more to like uncover. Never in a million years I'm going to say I'm a master, because they're going to kind of recognize like there's still a lot more. There's still a lot more to go. There's a lot more to learn.
Is there anything for yourself that like you want to, like, obviously you've gotten extremely good at powerlifting over the years, but is there anything that you've wanted to like just really kind of master even outside of that?
I mean, I'm in the same boat as you. We're on a big gay boat ride together. Like in South Park. Big Gay Al's Big Gay Boat Ride. You guys ever see that episode?
Let me find it.
I that's kind of what I'm, kind of working on. I like this idea of like spinning a lot of plates at the same time, holding up, all the energies up on one point and not letting anything fall off, and trying to, I got a lot of friends in business that are savages. They do an amazing job. I got a lot of people in fitness, a lot of friends in fitness that have phenomenal physiques and that have great strength. It's rare, it's rare to have, a combination of those things. And that's what I'm into. Like Vince McMahon, jacked, tan, and a billionaire, right? Like that's, those are some of the things that I just admire it. I don't care. Like if I ever get that way or, whatever, I don't care that much, but I would like to be able to, these are all things that I like to do and like to master. Here we go. Big Gay Al's Big Gay Boat Ride. Look, it says it right there.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't watched South Park in years.
It's so
My
good.
God, that show was horrible.
Oh my God, it's so bad. It's amazing. It's like, how do they still get away like in these fragile times?
Because it's the cartoon, I guess, right? I mean,
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah, the cartoon side of it
Yeah.
makes it work. Yeah, I just, I don't want to kind of get better at everything. I just want to try to continue to improve upon each thing. I was just like, sometimes I think about things like almost from like a seasonal perspective. Like, I made a post a while back saying like, you're going to look the same as you looked, when you took a picture in front of your tree last year. Like, is that what you really want for yourself? Make these decisions now. Make these decisions now so you can be 10 pounds left, 15 pounds, whatever your goal is. And I kind of think about some things like last year, I started to mess around with some running when it got a little warmer out. And I've been running a bunch lately, pretty much on the treadmill. But I was like, you know what? It's going to feel really fucking good when I go for a run outside. I'm like, I'm kind of looking forward to that. Like I ran around this like little industrial park last year. It was the first time I ran a mile, I think, as an adult. I can't remember any other time that I ran that. And it was hard for me. I was like, shit, this is terrible. I'm so bad at running. But now, I can run 2 miles pretty easy. And I think I could run for a pretty long time I wouldn't be going very fast. But I think I could probably do like a half marathon or something. I don't know. That might be too lofty, but anyway, the point is that, I want to kind of continue to have that feeling. I want to continue to improve upon just all the different things that I'm kind of pushing into. 500-pound bench is still not gone, so I'll still work on that. And then I was doing some math, and it'd be really hard, but I would like to, maybe even be in line to beat my best bench ever, which at 220, it would mean that I'd have to bench like 534 or 540 or something like that by the Wilks formula.
Yeah.
So, because I did the 578 bench at 275, that might take, I mean, that might take a while. That might take like 2 years to do that. I don't know. But it's just, always kind of setting goals. Your goals are moving targets. You have a goal to lose 5 pounds, and you don't just lose 5 pounds and you're like, yay. You have a goal, and you, by the way, I think it's really important for people to, these kind of intermediate goals that you might have, I think it's important to write them down, and then not only write them down, but when you get there, cross them off your list. Make it fun. It's kind of exciting. You're like, oh shit, like I did that. Not everything has to be a crazy challenge either.
Yeah.
Like maybe you want to go to a jiu-jitsu tournament in Brazil. And it's like, that's not necessarily hard to do. It just means that you're in Brazil for jiu-jitsu tournament. Mm-hmm. But, there's a financial commitment to it. There's a commitment to it of like, oh shit, I'm going to Brazil. Like this is the motherland of like where all this shit comes from, So things like that. And it does, like I said, it doesn't always have to be something that's like so damn hard, but it will make you feel really good when you get to check these things off your list.
Yeah, I can't imagine really not having any goals at this point. It's like whenever as I just keep progressing through the things that I'm doing, it's just like all these new goals that I want keep popping up, even without me really, I guess, always thinking about the ones that I already have set up. New ones just come, and I think that's also partly why, like, if you're doing something that like you enjoy doing, it's like those goals are going to be automatic for you. But and it's hard. It's like I feel like some people are listening to this and being like, F you, man. Like, yeah, you get to do what you like to do. We don't all get to do that. It's hard when you're not doing something you like, having goals for that, or you almost feel like you're forced to set up goals for that. Like when I was in my old major and I was like, this is what I got to do. Those goals they weren't intrinsic. They weren't like, I want to do this because I want to do this. It's like, I want to do this. I have to do this. This is a goal that I have to get to. I don't really want to, but if I want to get to where I want to get to in life, I got to do this, And that's got to be pretty tough, especially like even if you don't have the habit of working out, right? You don't have that habit of exercising. Initially, when you set that goal, it's going to feel like a chore.
I don't really feel bad for people that are like stuck, because there's so much information out there about how to not be stuck anymore. And not everyone can work for themselves. I mean, there has to be somebody working for these people that work for themselves, right? I mean, there's definitely like a reality to the whole thing. Not everybody's a leader, and not everybody wants to be. Like the responsibility of being a leader is a tough thing to endure. And then being an entrepreneur, a lot of entrepreneurs kill themselves. Like it's a pretty hefty price to pay, I would say. And who knows why? I mean, maybe it's the territory of it, or maybe it has to do with who that person was before they selected to be an entrepreneur. I'm not sure which comes first, or how it works, or what the deal is, but it definitely can be really stressful. But the other reason why I don't feel bad is because when I think about my life, and I think about how people have credited me with saying that I'm successful, people that I know, people that are close to me, family members, I have some things that not everybody else has, and have obtained certain things that not everybody else has been able to get. And so by society standards, it's a success, right? At the same time, there has not been one case of a friend or family member, I'm just trying to make sure that's 100% accurate. Yeah, not one person has ever said, you know what? I want to take you to lunch because I want to know more about how you did all this. That has never happened one time out of all the people that I know.
That's good. Man, that's kind of crazy.
That's why I don't care. That's why I don't feel sorry for people that are stuck. Like you're stuck on your own, man, And I do get people though sometimes that will DM me and say, "Hey man, I'd love to know." And obviously I don't have time to get back to everybody. I don't even have Instagram at the moment. But those people, I have reached out to those people before and we have communicated. But like just the people that are actually like in my circle, that are in my life, it's never happened one time.
I really wonder why that is, because it's like there's a resource right there. An individual that has vast amount of knowledge in like something or a place that you want to head, and you're not even you're not. You know how many people? Yeah, exactly. How many people that DM you and message you that wish, or that like wish you would just give them a nugget. Right?
Yeah.
Just give me a nugget. Give me a little morsel. And wow, that's
Do you get a lot of people popping up in your DMs at like 2 a.m? A lot of dudes.
yeah, all dudes. Like, yeah, nah.
Hey, bro, what are you doing?
No, but like it's like I respond to literally all my DMs, and it's cool to know that like I don't think I'm super successful or anything, but I'm like where I am right now is where a lot of people want to be, and I guess it's nice to be able to like give back any little thing that I can, or help out any little way that I can.
100%. I mean,
nice.
you're pursuing jiu-jitsu with everything that you got. I don't think you can put any more into it, really. You got your nutrition on point. You got your training on point. Everything's geared towards all that. And you provided a life for yourself that allows you to like sit into all this and to lean into all this. And I think that's what most people want.
Yeah.
I think that's all most people want. I don't think people really need a lot more than that. I don't think maybe like over time they'll want more because like we talked about, the goals are these moving targets that they increase. Like you start to make a certain amount of money and you want to naturally make more because you want to do better than you did the year before.
Yeah.
That's just kind of the natural progression of things. But I never needed anything. You know, I had a very humble beginnings, and I don't feel any better now than I did then. I felt good then. I feel good now. Having set up the culture that we have here at Super Training and at Slingshot is a little bit different because that makes me feel really good. And that actually like, it's motivating, it's inspiring. Having the men and women that train here, you know, come up to me and thank me, you know, people thank me all the time for it. It's really that kind of stuff. Like that matters a lot. Walking into my house, which is a really nice house, like it doesn't feel any different than other houses that we've had. It feels similar. You know, having a nice car, it's pretty cool when you're driving on the freeway and like people keep kind of glancing over at your car, and it's not because your like hubcap blew off or something like that. They're actually kind of like checking it out. Like that's kind of neat, but it doesn't really move the needle for me, you know. And so I think that most people are just striving to kind of head towards your direction. And there's a lot of people that are probably, you know, you're 25 or so?
26.
You're 26. There's a lot of people that are, you know, between like 19 and about your age-ish, or 19 to 30. Those are some tough ages to be, you know, it can be really hard. It's really hard to figure out like, yeah, what am I going to do with myself? It's really easy to sit there and be like, oh man, I'm not really good at anything. Or I'm not really that passionate about anything. What am I going to do? It's difficult, but you'll have to work towards finding something. And I think if we go back to the beginning and we go back to our conversation about education, making you do all the shit that you don't want to do, I think the idea of it came from kids don't know any better. They don't know what's good for them. Let's show them what's good for them. Let's expose them to as many different opportunities as we possibly can. Hopefully something will stick. Hopefully they'll lean towards something. Hopefully they'll find something that makes them feel good. Hopefully they'll find something that they enjoy, and that maybe they'll do the rest of their life. That's why you play the violin, and that's why you play basketball at PE, and that's why we do all these different. You take Spanish, and that's why you do all these different things. We're trying to like find like what the hell do you like to do? That's what we're trying to figure out.
Yeah, see what sticks. Everybody has so many different. Everybody's so different. It's hard to just.
Andrew's really different. Look at him.
Yeah, he's weird.
Yeah, that's all right.
We're all weird.
Who does a powerlifting meet hits all their lifts?
Yeah,
That was weird.
yeah. That's very impressive. Even I didn't end up with that perfect meat. So.
Yeah, we all can't be me, all right?
Jerk.
You got a beautiful beard too. It kind of that's one thing.
You know
I
his
wish I could have.
You know his nickname, Bradley Martinez.
I didn't know that.
I haven't
That's
heard
pretty
that in
good.
a while. Yeah,
Bradley Martinez.
yeah.
Oh God, that's
What's
good.
great about it is I think Mark told Bradley about it, and he just got so upset. It was just like, I don't look like that ugly motherfucker right there. What the hell? It's like when we took a picture together and I posted it on my Instagram. This was before I was wearing glasses all the time.
Yeah.
But like Forsaken Warrior, a bunch of people were like, what the hell, dude? Like, you guys are twins. And it was like, I mean, don't tell him that because he'll be pretty upset.
Dang.
Bradley Martinez. I think he's jealous of your biceps.
Could be. Yeah. Natty biceps.
Bradley's natty.
Natty Professor? He's about as natty as the Natty Professor.
Oh, my goodness.
Let's not go down this road.
Yeah.
Let's turn around and make a U-turn.
All right,
Go
well,
the other direction right now.
What's funny?
My mom lost 15 pounds by fasting.
Did she
Wow.
really?
Yeah, she did. She lost like 15, 17 pounds, and she hasn't even changed her food habits.
That's awesome.
That's sick.
Yeah, yeah. Her joints
I
feel
think that's
good.
what most people can get from fasting.
Yeah.
Like we talked about it, in the beginning. We just said, like, you can't be totally reckless when it's time to eat, but within reason. Yeah, you can kind of get after it.
Yeah.
I would love it because I can stuff myself. I love to stuff myself. I love to like fill up with food. I think that's a kind of a natural instinct, right? Is to just go hog wild on your food.
Yeah.
When did Mama Natty Professor start fasting?
Mama started 7 months ago. She didn't
okay.
and she really doesn't. She actually does not have time right now to hit the gym because she just gets so tired. She does like work and she does like hair stuff on the side, so she's always standing. But like the doc was like,
Dude, you got to make more money, get mom off her feet.
I know. Trust me, I know this. But the doc was like, you should lose a little bit of weight because it's not like she was fat, but she was holding a little bit more fat than she usually does. So she was like trying to figure out ways to lose weight. I was like, hey, just start fasting. Like, see how you feel. So she started doing it for like a few weeks. She's like, wow, I feel great. I have so much energy. And it's weird because I'm not eating, I'm not eating breakfast or anything. So then started doing, I think she now starts eating from like 6 or 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. And she's like, this is the best that I've ever felt. I don't ever feel hungry. I feel focused. And she lost weight as a byproduct and she's still dropping.
It's great.
Yeah.
I worked out the other day with Pig because I was out in Bodega Bay, and then I trained at that gym, Science Strength. And I got talking to the owner of the gym, and he's way into powerlifting, but he's a young guy, and I think that he would be better off like messing around with some bodybuilding for a little while just to switch things up. He's kind of frustrated. He's sort of stuck with the weights that he's hitting, and everyone could use more muscle, right? Everyone could be more jacked. And so I was like, man, you got to come to super training. And Pig was like, yeah. He's like, I'm going to go down there in like a week or two. I got to hit up my last squat for the meet and so on. And I said, well, you should definitely come down. I said, maybe I'll try to make sure the Natty Professor is there.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, and he could set you up with some programming or diet or something. And I was like, he's done a lot of bodybuilding. And the guy was like, oh yeah. He's like, the Natty Professor. He's like, that's Enzima, right? And I was like, yeah. And I said, the guy's crazy, man. He's a genetic freak because he works out hard and stuff, but he's just a mutant. And the guy's like, is he actually natural? And I said, no, but it'd be really funny if he was. He was like, okay, good.
Yeah, he probably believed you too.
He just had a weird look on his face. He was like,
why would I have the name? Why?
The ultimate cover-up.
I guess.
Well, not the ultimate.
If you think, also, okay.
That's the girlfriend.
Real quick, huh?
The girlfriend is
What?
the ultimate cover-up. Because you're gay.
Oh. I see.
Thigh Wars.
Yeah.
We're not going to talk about Thigh Wars yet.
He introduced me to Thigh Wars. I'm like, what is that? Just little tiny me.
Oh, we won't
It's like,
tell
what's
that
a
story
Thigh
yet.
War? And then, bam.
Yeah, no, that's a story.
like,
for
is that a
another day.
Yeti bottle hitting my leg?
Yeah, what
that?
is that?
Yeah, Thigh Wars
Big
was
old-
fun. But question real quick because this needs to be addressed. Did either of you guys ever watch Dragon Ball Z? No, like
I didn't, but I know the Jim.
and you
No.
didn't, right?
Jim's got the same name or whatever.
Say-
I don't know how to say it. I don't think.
Saiyan.
There we go.
I've heard you say it on the podcast
Yeah,
before.
I know. People are always
go
like, you're
nuts.
butchering the name.
Yeah,
you're butchering
people
the
do
name. I'm
go
like, I don't
crazy.
care.
Yeah.
I've been like, I got to tell Mark it's Saiyan.
Saying.
Saying?
Saiyan, like a
no-
super
like-
Saiyan. It's
like-
a Saiyan.
Like, know what I'm saying.
Know what I'm saying? Yes.
Okay, there it
perfect.
is.
Yeah. So Saiyan strength.
Yeah, people do
You're
go
silent.
I'm glad you corrected me because people were like, you're saying it wrong. You're saying it wrong. And no one ever told me how to say it.
Now
Saying.
you're saying it
strength.
right.
Exactly. You're perfect. You'll never get it wrong again.
People are crazy.
God. Hey, I don't know if you guys realize, but a lot of like kids, and not even kids, a lot of people from my generation were influenced to work out because of Dragon Ball Z. Like thousands, tens of thousands of people.
It's a big part of the show, right?
Yeah, like Goku's jacked. Everyone's jacked.
Yeah.
They all like beat
And they
stuff
talk
up.
about like training and stuff, right?
Yeah, Goku always trains, and before every single fight, like he gets stronger, trains, beats
That's
the guy.
Furious Pete. He has Goku
the
gains
pre-workout,
or whatever.
right?
Yeah. It's actually really crazy how many people like that one show has influenced to like work out and get jacked.
It's awesome.
It's insane. Even me at a certain point, I was like, yeah, Goku's jacked. I want to work out, look like Goku. It's crazy.
Is he natty?
Isn't it a cartoon?
Goku takes these things called senzu beans, which after every single fight,
right.
he'll eat the bean and he'll immediately recover. So we don't know what senzu beans are, but like that doesn't seem very natural to me.
Is that going to come up on like a test for his NCAA career? Like we gotta, USADA, somebody.
It's definitely iffy. But someone should make a supplement called the senzu bean. They'd make a lot of money. Seriously, and that's not even a joke. They make a lot of money.
Senzu bean. Let's do it.
I'm down.
All right, peeps, we're out of here. Strength is never weakness. Weakness is never strength. Catch you later.